This is probably going to sound a bit ridiculous, but, have you ever had a figure where the longer that you've had the figure, the more you begin to appreciate it? So when I first got Hun-Gurrr here, he's part of the second wave, I believe, of Power of the Prime Voyagers. I really was kind of disappointed with it. I took it out of the box, kind of looked at both modes, and it was okay. I mean, it's not a bad figure. It's not the worst I've ever had by any means, but it just wasn't really all that exciting to me. And then I let him kind of sit on my shelf for a while. And what ended up happening is that I really began to like the way that this guy looked. Now, his beast mode's probably the weaker of the two modes. His robot mode, and I don't know why, I mean, it certainly was never portrayed this way on the cartoon, but Hun-Gurrr in his robot mode has kind of a leisure suit disco vibe about him, which is kind of odd, but I dig it. I really do kind of dig that. So anyway, let's take a quick look at what he looks like in his beast mode. So he's a dual-headed dragon, as you can see, and that's really all there is to it. He's got two heads, and he's articulated pretty well, although there's a little bit of limitation to what you can do with the neck because of how these joints are. He is a combiner. He's a torso in his combiner mode, and so I see why they had to kind of design some of the things that they did, but that doesn't mean it's still not a hindrance in this mode. These ultimately become his legs, which is kind of cool the way they do it, but let's take a look at it more closely in this mode. Each of the dual heads is pretty cool. I mean, it's got a dual double-hinged jaw, so you can, because of the way he transforms, you can open it all the way. There is rotation here so that the neck can turn side to side, and an up and down, so there's a lot that you can do there. The hindrance really comes out of this leg joint here, in which if I could bend it maybe like right here and move the whole thing over, it might work a little bit better. But since I can't do that, I can still make it work. Don't get me wrong, but it's not quite as cool as maybe it could have been if I could maybe bend it right there. He's got these little bitty front feet, and these don't have really any articulation other than the joint where you can see where you can see the metal right there. But there is nice in plastic molding, which really is kind of themed all the way around. The in-plastic molding on this figure, I think, is really good. The tail, there's no articulation other than it moves up due to transformation. And then the back legs, there is back leg articulation, but again, there's only so much you're going to be able to do with it because the front legs don't have anything that you can do other than just kind of sit there. So, you could come down like this, but then he's going to be kind of, down at an angle. And I guess that's okay, but no, I'm not going to want to really do that. He does have two pink Power of the Primes weapons that become his feet in combined mode. Not really much to say about it that you haven't already seen in some of my other reviews. You can take a Prime Master or a Titan Master, and you can stick them in here, and he can have the Power of the Primes. But you already knew that. Again, I think the strength in this bot is really in his robot mode, but again, here's another look all the way around at the dual-headed beast. To get him transformed, it's really simple, and I do kind of appreciate simple. We're going to first straighten out what become the legs, and then to form his actual feet, you're just going to take the dragon head, and you're going to open it up. The front part becomes the front of the foot, and the back part becomes the heel. Kind of gross. It opens all the way up. Blah, like you broke the jaw. But anyway, do the same thing on the other side, and you've got nearly finished legs. Now, you do have ankle pivot and that's so cool. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot to like here. Then you're going to take this bit right here, kind of get your thumbnail to push in that little tab, take this part, and you build up his leg or his kneecap a little bit more. Do the same thing over here, get that all the way up, and you've got the entire bottom part of the figure already transformed. Come around to the other side. I'm going to take these little legs and move them in like this. And I'm going to take this little backpack and I'm going to open it up. That will allow me to take this leg and move it onto the inside, like that. Then I'm going to collapse the backpack back down again. And you can see how they fit into the slot, the little feet. So it compacts back there real nice. You're going to take the top of the figure. Nice clickety-clatchety ratchets there. And you're going to take this bottom part, which was the beast claw. You're going to move that around to the back. That exposes the fist. Rinse and repeat on the other side. Exposing the fist. Now we're going to take the tail. We're going to move it down. All right, and what happens is this piece right here is going to push in on that, which is going to pop this bit out. Pretty neat how that automorphs like that. Then we're going to take this chest. We're going to open it up. You can undo this first. And then the head is back here on a tab. Just kind of get your thumbnail in there. And pull the head up. And then there's a tab right there and a slot right there. And you're going to marry those two up. If you miss the target, just get in there. And once you get it, give it a nice squeeze. And at this point, you're ready to stand up your Hun-Gurrr, pose up your Hun-Gurrr. And here you have Terrorcon Hun-Gurrr in his robot mode. Again, this took me a minute. When I first transformed him, I was like, okay, it's all right. But the more that I look at this guy on my shelf on a date, I've had him for about a week now. The more that I look at him on my shelf, I do really dig the way that he looks. Let's go all the way around the figure. Again, he kind of looks like he's wearing a white tux. Like he's got, like his dress shoes on, which I don't know why. He just kind of gives off that vibe to me. All the way around, the figure looks pretty decent. Not too bad at all. Now, I do kind of dig with the Wave 2 Power of the Primes. They give you what kind of looks like a rub symbol. It's not a rub symbol, but it has that look. So you see how it almost looks like it's darkened out with the way that I have this light. And on the old G1 toys, you'd put some heat on it, and you'd have a symbol that would appear, and you'd know their faction. In this case, it's just a sticker, but when certain lights hit it, it can look a bit darked out. I love this giant Decepticon sticker on his left arm. I don't know why he has one on each side. It's kind of an odd thing. Maybe a callback to G1. I don't have a G1 Hun-Gurrr, so I'm not sure if that's what that is. Let's take a closer look at what you're getting here. Head sculpt is nice, albeit the pink plastic isn't, I wish that they would have done something a little bit different on the helmet and the face, because it just looks like unpainted plastic. It does kind of have that look to it. But the face itself is nice, and the painted visor is pretty good, albeit the paint's a little bit sloppy on mine. Yeah, they could have done a better job, but I'm nitpicking. Again, I'm super close up in this camera. If I back it up to normal levels, it's not going to look as bad. Looking at the rest of him, not a lot of paint, but the paint that is here kind of carries over that pink and off-white look. These don't quite match up color-wise, so that might bother a few of you out there. Again, the in plastic looks really good on this figure. This appears to be a heavily modified version of the aerial bot Voyager, and but they pulled it off in a way that I don't think of that, other than the legs kind of remind me of Silverbolt's. Nice detail all the way around, and then his alligator loafers. So you can take the feet, the combiner feet, and you can hook it onto the side of the arm if you want to get something like that going, just like Starscream. So up to you if that's something you want to do. For the articulation in this mode, his head, I think, is on a ball joint, but there's very limited movement for up and down. You do get a little bit, but not a lot, and then you can turn the head all the way around. I already showed you the very clickety-clackety joint due to the combiner mode itself. Then he's got a hinge right here inside of the arm. Swivel at the elbow, hinge at the elbow. Does not go back, but does lock into place for combiner transformation. Legs have that dual hinge, so you can get decent posability on the legs, and then the knees, due to transformation, go all the way back, other than you're going to hit the back of the figure. The ankle pivot, as I mentioned, is also cool, so if you're standing him up on your shelf, there is some decent posability that you can get, and nice stability because of that giant back heel and the ankle pivot. To put him into his combiner mode, it might be easier to start as the directions show you from his beast mode, so I'm going to, through the magic of camera pausing, I'm going to transform him real quick. Alright, so for beast mode transformation, or for torso transformation, what we're going to do is we're going to take the head of the dragon, and we're going to put it all the way back into the leg like that. Both sides, and it tucks in there perfect. Now I'm going to come into the middle panel, and I'm going to grab this piece right here with my hand, and I'm going to bring up the head, and there is the head of Abominus. Now I'm going to separate the legs, or the dragon heads, and I'm going to bring this head all the way up, so he's sticking out kind of like that. Then I'm going to take this pivot, and I'm going to move it like that. Then you can take these horn pieces, and you can bring these up. Mine is a little bit warped, so that's kind of unfortunate, but you can fix that. Get a hairdryer and heat it up, and you can straighten it out with no issue. Now I'm going to come into the tail, and I'm going to lift this all the way up and fill in the gap just like that. Now, kind of a neat thing, the heads, or the dragon heads of Hun-Gurr's alt mode, become the legs of Hun-Gurrr himself, and then in his combined Abominus mode, they become his shoulders, which is kind of a cool thing, and a multi-use of some parts. So I'm going to bring these up, and I'm going to turn them like that, and then you'll see a little tab right in there, and these two little, or a tab slot, and a couple of tabs, and I'm going to just bring them up so that they connect. Just get them lined up, and then give them a push into the slot. It might be easier to go from the front, and then push it back in. Then you're going to bring these pieces just down like that up against the side. Now I'm going to bring this piece right here down like that, and then I'm going to take the dual hinge and bring it up and form the top part of the chest. There's a tab up on top, and I'm just going to tab that into place like that. Now I'm going to take these little feet, and I'm going to bring them up, and there's a tab hole and a tab, and I'm going to marry them up. Now I will say that on my figure, the front right one doesn't like to stay in its peg, and maybe I could manipulate some things around to make that happen. But not a big deal. It's frictioned in tight enough to where it's not falling or anything like that, but just be wary. Man, that horn's going to bother me. Next thing I'm going to do is take the legs, straighten them out, and I told you about that joint before, where if you bend it all the way down, it kind of clicks into place. So you want to do that, and you'll hear it click. Listen, just like that, and it's in place. Then you want to take the feet, the little beast claws, and move them to the back. Now you want to take the fists and move the whole thing open, exposing the combiner port. Then you can take that foot and kind of bend it all the way back like that. Now you want to take these legs right here, and you want to spin them around so it's pretty in the front. And there you have torso mode waiting for the rest of the Terrorcons, which I don't yet have. They're not out yet, but they're coming out soon. So you'll get how this works. The arms will port in here. I forgot to flip that down. So that's where your arms are going to port in, and then the legs are going to port in here. So he should be a pretty nice, I mean, he's actually a pretty decent looking combiner torso. He looks real good. Love the dual Decepticon symbols, and actually you've got 4 on the front, so there's no mistaking who he belongs to. Let's take a closer look. The head sculpt is pretty gorgeous. I do like the way that looks quite a bit. The head can rotate. It's not on a ball joint. Again, be wary of the soft plastic, and you might have to take a hairdryer and get that into position and then make sure that it stays. Lots of nice in-plastic molding. Cool paint, especially as you get down into the waist with the yellow and the way that this kind of hip flap looks, or the crotch flap, whatever you want to call it. But all in all, a very, very nice combiner torso. Now, talking about Prime Masters, you can open up his chest compartment. All right, and you can put one right in there, which is pretty cool. So here I can take a little Prime Master and give him a Power of the Primes. Slot that right inside. That looks cool. That's actually not a bad look at all. And you can kind of lift that up. It doesn't close all the way. A little bit of a bummer. You can't completely hide it, but you can close it enough Friction kind of keeps it into place the way that the joint hits, or you could open it and leave it exposed, and again, that's a pretty freaking cool look right there. The only real drawback are the stickers, and I didn't talk about the stickers earlier, but I'm not a fan of stickers, just not. I do like the Decepticon symbols, but these pieces are already kind of coming out. I think just mainly because they weren't applied quite correctly. Kind of wish that, as much as I hate putting stickers on robots, I kind of wish that they'd have just given us a sticker sheet, and that way I could have just looked in the mirror and blamed myself if I didn't like the way that it looked. On this case, it is what it is, and it's just going to be something that I'm going to have to deal with, and at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't just come all the way off, but that's just me. So we'll close out this review with Abominus just looking sad and missing his joints, because I want to let that horn kind of straighten itself out before I transform him back. So you're just going to have to deal with it. Thanks again for watching eBEFOREi video reviews. I appreciate each and every one of you. Your support means absolutely everything to me and my channel. The best ways to support me is to thumb up, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications for my channel so that you're notified every time I release a new review. Your views are what keep me going and motivated, and so thank you again. I appreciate it very much. You can catch me all over social media. I'm on facebook.com/eBEFOREi, Twitter and Instagram @eBEFOREiNet, and all of my YouTube videos can be found at youtube.com/eBEFOREiNet. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you back here again real soon.